I've watched Louis Theroux in many different documentaries that he's made, and I think they're amazing. Honestly, I think it's so amazing how he appears on the surface as quite a nerdy, laid-back kind of guy, but in reality, he's got balls of steel and he's not afraid to ask certain questions that might get a reaction, and he's not afraid to go into dangerous situations. He's been to prisons, extremist groups. He's seen pretty much it all. A documentary that he just released was called The Manosphere. Now, I've not heard of this before, but it entails a lot of people that have a very strong opinion on what a man should be, and they swing very harshly to one side, basically. Now, when I see these types of people, there's a few, right? If you have the people, your Andrew Tate, your Tiki Toki, your Ed Matthew, your Sneeko, all these people come across very insecure. And it is kind of weird because a lot of them, they're fairly good looking, they're in shape, they have influence, they have a bit of money behind them. So everything dictates that they shouldn't be insecure, but they are. And it's because of that insecurity is why they push so hard to show everyone that they're not. I think a lot of times when people have tried to combat an argument between these people, they try to use fire on fire, and it doesn't really work. And I feel like in this documentary, Louis Theroux kind of put a wet towel over that fire, and I'll explain why. He interviewed and he asked a few awkward questions and he pushed on it, and you could see their insecurities, and you can see them sort of chipping away at themselves, but I think mostly out of everything, they are kind of seeing themselves when he's asking these questions. There's a saying that goes, don't care too much for money, power and fame, because one day you'll meet someone that cares little for these things, and you'll realize how little you have. And I think that's kind of what happened with Louis. Louis stepped into their world, and he didn't care about not one thing, about what they hold so highly. And so they couldn't chip away back at. Whereas a lot of people that go into their circle, they actually care about a lot of things that they talk about, and so it affects them. So then there's that fire on fire, it doesn't really go anywhere. And for the people that follow these types of people, I understand it completely. Not having a father figure or a male influence in your life at all, you kind of gravitate towards these things. I know that, seeing growing up in certain areas with people that sort of gravitate towards gangs, if you will, or groups of people that don't do the best of things, but because they get looked after, they look up to this person and they think that that is what's best for them, and a lot of the times it isn't. And so the people that follow these types of people, I can understand it. It's not really, it's their fault at the end of the day. It's their choice to do what they do, but I don't blame them so much. And it may be strange to a lot of people, but I don't blame HS. I don't blame Andrew Tate. I don't blame these people, because all they're doing, and I've always felt this, is they're projecting their life, the reasons and understandings of what they think onto other people. And really, most of the time when I see, these groups of people, I just see scared boys that don't really know what they're doing at one point. And I know they were young and they were just sort of not knowing what they were doing. And no one was really there for them, I believe. And I think what ended up happening is they had to be there for themselves. And in doing so, they kind of made this toxic outlook on life, but the reality is it's not the majority. It's not for the majority. And I think that's why they're still seen as kind of not a subsection, but they're kind of off to the side. Majority of people would say what they're saying is pretty crazy. Maybe with a slight hint of, okay, I can understand that, but for the most part, slow down and chill out, and that's sad. But it was a very good documentary. I probably expected a little bit more from through Louis, but nevertheless, pretty good. I think there is one more thing I'd like to say to HS mostly. I see that he has heart, but when he was answering a couple of the questions from Louis, he said he didn't care, right? As long as he's making money, and that was kind of what he was going at. And although he is saying that, I don't 100% believe if he really believes that himself. Selling your soul will never be worth it, man. I promise you that. There was a comparison made between Bonnie and HS from Louis' side, and HS got a bit, annoyed about that statement. But at the end of the day, Louis wasn't too far off. The statement there, I will do what I need to do to make money so my kids can live well. And you're doing the same thing. Yes, you may not be selling your body, but I promise you are selling your soul in doing things that you don't agree with. That is the definition of selling your soul. And as you know, everything you do is on the internet, and it will be viewed and understood by your kid one day. And your kid won't always be a kid. He'll be an adult. They'll be an adult. And they'll make their mind up to whether you did the right thing or not. And, I promise you that the love from your child looking up to you, it will be worth more than any bit of money they'll have in their purse. I promise you that. That's everything. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.